Hello, beautiful people of the internet. If you have stumbled across this video, then you probably already know that I'm going to be talking about tracking your macronutrients. What does that mean? Well, tracking your macronutrients means that you're going to be looking at how many grams of carbs, fats, and protein you'll be eating in that day. Tracking your macros can be done on an app such as MyFitnessPal, or they have other ones. I've never used them, so I can't attest to it, but in the 3.5, almost 4 years that I tracked my macros, I always used MyFitnessPal. Tracking your macros is simply another way of tracking your calories at a very specific level. When you track your macros, you are looking to reach certain goals or goal numbers for that macronutrient. That means that you are trying to eat, for example, 150 grams of carbs, 50 grams of fat, and 90 grams of protein per day. So you're no longer looking at total calorie intake, but what is the breakdown of that? Do you want 50% carbs, or do you want 30% fat, or 60% protein? You look a lot more specifically at the macronutrient rather than your total intake. It is kind of important to understand that each macronutrient is different and has different functions within your body. But it does come at a cost. When you track your macros, you have to be very diligent about portion control. That doesn't sound like a bad thing, but when you do it for as long as I did, which was 3.5 years, you become a little bit obsessive. And by obsessive, I mean I would go out to a restaurant, have them plate my food separately. So like piece of fish, side topping of that fish, side potatoes, side dressing for the potatoes, so that I can weigh my food on a food scale that I would bring with me literally everywhere. It was like my phone. It would just be in my purse. And I would be very, very anxious and very stressed out if I could not get my numbers correctly put in. It was very hard for me to just be like, okay, well, this kind of looks like 100 grams of potatoes. I needed to know that it was 100 grams of potatoes. Otherwise, it would be a total mental battle. What happened when I thought that I could not track my macros correctly that day is binge eating. At that point, I was like, well, I don't exactly know how much I ate, so I'm just going to keep eating. This obviously does not happen to everyone. There are plenty of people out there who track their macros and don't have an unhealthy relationship with it. I, being the obsessive type of person that I am, could not do it anymore. It was actually taking over my life. Like, there's no reason that I should go to a taste testing or a wine tasting type of place and not taste things because I couldn't tell what the macros were. Sometimes I felt like I just didn't want to eat because the thought of having to weigh and measure my food again gave me that much anxiety. Tracking your macros can work for certain lifestyles. If you are one who has time to meal prep and weigh and measure and do all of that, it's absolutely going to work for you, and go ahead. If it works for you, then do it. Just because it doesn't work for me anymore does not mean it won't work for you. When you have an unhealthy relationship with food, tracking your macros does not work. Tracking your macros is like a love-hate relationship with me. Sometimes I desperately just want to go back to it because I have lost weight on it, but I also went off of tracking my macros and I gained all the weight back. It's just one of those things where, is it a sustainable lifestyle for me? Definitely not. Is it a sustainable lifestyle for some people? Yeah. I mean, I know people who've been doing it longer than I did, and they're still fine. But if you are just trying to live a healthy, happy, normal life and eat healthy foods, I really don't think that tracking your macros is 100% necessary. I think it's more for someone who really is trying to lose weight and can't figure out any other methods that work for them other than playing with those numbers. And I think that's perfectly fine. That's why Weight Watchers is a thing. That's why it's so popular. Numbers are sometimes just what does it for some people. And I just don't think I'm one of them. This is also not a video meant to bash anyone who's currently tracking their macros or has had only success with it. Every diet and every lifestyle choice is different for certain people. This lifestyle choice just didn't work for me anymore, and I'm trying out some new ones. Thanks again for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Like, share, subscribe, all of these things with your friends. So that they know about tracking macros. Oh, that rhymes. Cool. So hungry, so hungry, so hungry. I'm trying to think of a time in my life where I wasn't so hungry.